my big brother. Anthony, come on up.
Béni soit l'Éternel. Béni soit l'Éternel. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to give honor to the pastor and thank you once again for having us here. This is one of the things that we enjoy doing, pointing the young adults, especially in the right direction. Most importantly, I can't forget my mother. I want to say thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me to be the person that I can be, especially my aunt, McCoy. Thank you. I'm here this morning to speak to you guys about a lot of different things, especially the aspect of my job. M'parle créole, mais créole n'est pas trop bon, so sometimes I've switched back and forth, so excuse me, okay? Right now, job moi, c'est official title, c'est police officer. C'est n'importe problème ou gagne, c'est premier monde toujours élève qui rive dans scène pour yo wè qui s'arrive, pour yo decide who get arrested or who get to stay home. But presently, my official title is homicide detective. A lot of you guys probably see me on TV. I've been on TV many times. Because majority of the time, if a crime occurs, I'm there, Channel 7 there, Channel 4 there, Channel 6, they're always on scene. Homicide is divided into two different sections. You have traffic homicide and you have regular homicide. Traffic homicide is if you ever be driving on the side of the road or an expressway and you see two cars get in an accident and someone passed away and died, they have to contact the traffic homicide. They have to respond on the scene. They have to document exactly what happened. Once it's documented at the scene and back in our office. And then a memo is sent out before the news get a hold of what's going on. My job is I'm a regular homicide. Normally, every death in Dade County, that means anytime someone died in Dade County, we have to be notified. Whether that person died in a hospital or whether that person died at home. You have to call the police. Well, the first thing you want to do is soon as someone say, hey, look, I don't feel well, or I don't feel too good, I need to go to the hospital. They go to the hospital knows that if they died, they have to call us. If they're at home and all of a sudden they're not feeling well, the rescue is contacted, which is the ambulance. Ambulance get there and the person passed. The ambulance people knows they have to call us. The reason that is that every death has to be accounted for and documented in Dade County is because if, let's say for example, if someone in your family passed away and died, you can't take the body and just bury the body in the backyard. What happened is, and that has happened before, what happened is 20 years from now, you decide, you know what, I want to sell the house. If you sell the house, a person that just purchased a house, they go in the backyard to try to dig up to plant some plants. Now they find a body. Now what they're gonna do is what? Call the police. We get there, we have to investigate it like it's a homicide, like someone killed that person. We have to track everything down. So that's more work for us. Okay, now, most importantly, earlier, two good points that I heard. Reference to the guns that was purchased for young kids. We're dealing with a lot of that issue. Our biggest problem with homicide right now is young kids killing each other, hurting each other. Yes, for some reason they have a way of obtaining those guns. Where they get them from, we don't know. But those guns are so deadly. And most importantly, what they ended up doing is hurting each other, shooting each other. And once they shoot each other, you know what happened next? I have to come on the scene. I have to take crime scene along with me, and that's one of the things that Irma was talking about. We have to document exactly what occurred. We have to close the crime scene up. Once we finish documenting, next thing is I have to notify the family members if they're not aware of what exactly took place. Then I have to go and start my investigation. Now that's the part that kind of make me look like a bad person, because I have to find out who did it, why they did it, and arrest that person. That necessarily doesn't make me a bad person, but it's part of my job. It's part of the DNA of the job. I have to go out there, interview I think the youngest I've arrested so far is 12 years old. And let me tell you, he shot his own mother. Yes. He asked his mother for a pair of tennis shoes, Michael Jordan tennis shoes. and his mother could not afford the tennis shoes, but she told him she had to pay the rent this time. She can't give it to him. He got upset. He said, "Mom, I ask you one more time. Let me get the tennis shoes." She said, "Baby, I don't have the money." He went downstairs. They were sitting on the second floor. He went downstairs, borrowed a gun from his friend who was like 14 years old, went back upstairs, had the gun behind his back, asked his mom one more time, "Are you going to buy me those shoes?" And the mom was sitting watching TV. He was sitting behind her. She wasn't even paying him no attention. She said, "No, I told you I don't have the money." Pulled the gun, he shot. Mom took off, dropped the gun off to his friend. You know, to him, he think he just did something. Okay, mom gonna just be okay. I just hurt mom. But in reality, mom ended up dying. So now he has to spend the rest of his life in jail. One of the things that I have to tell you parents, the Haitian parents, I've never really had too much issues with the Haitian parents because they will discipline their kids. The American parents, that's a different story. They do what is called timeout, talk to their kids, let their kids talk back to them, and that's a serious issue. And another problem that I have with them also, sometimes they make big sacrifice to give their kids the newest thing. If the tennis shoes coming out, they'll go out their way to provide that for that child. But what happens is if you have that child accustomed to having that all the time, the one time you tell him you don't have the money or you can't do it, he's upset. So if you don't get your kids accustomed to that, you won't have that problem. Now, at the same time, the problem that I do have with my people, the Haitians, if a crime is committed, I go to them and ask them what happened. They could have been sitting right there. They don't want to get involved. And that's sad. You have to speak and say what you saw. Because what happened is it helped us solve the issue, it solves the problem. Because at the end of the day, I'm coming to your house, to your area, to your block to talk to you. Because the guy next door shot and killed someone. But you know what? After I'm done, I go back to my house. You have to live in that area. That guy still lived next door to you. And what happened with this guy is now that he see that you didn't report him and you didn't say anything, it makes him feel more powerful. So he's gonna do it again and hurt someone else. That's your community, that's your area, that's where you live at. You make sure that area stay nice and clean. And you won't have no issue. You won't have any problem at all. Now, one of the things that I think most people don't know, how many of you guys been on cruises? Okay, going on cruises is a beautiful, wonderful thing. But every time it happens, most of the time it's the elderly people that goes on those cruises. When they go on those cruises, sometimes they end up passing away. When the ship comes, they get everybody off. But you guys probably never see me come till you guys are gone. I go back there in the background. I have to go on the ship. Whoever passed away in that ship, like let's say, for example, they went on cruise to Puerto Rico. They went on a cruise to Dominican, Bahamas. If they die over there, they have to put the body on the ship, bring the body back here. Once again, I have to document the body, me and my crime scene. I have to, when I say document, I'm giving you an example. I just had a case in Cutler Manor, that's down south. That's where I'm having my biggest problems at. It's 216th Street and Southwest 118th Avenue. For some reason, I don't know if you guys ever hear about the Porcupine Project. It's like a project where they have housing area all around each other. It's basically the same thing with Cutler Manor. The problem with it is this. A lot of people are dying in that area, but nobody's talking. Because nobody's talking, those young kids that's doing the shooting, they feel more comfortable to shoot more people because they know nobody's gonna say anything. I just had a scene where two young men were sitting and talking to each other. A guy was passing by and recognized one of the young men that he had a problem with. He pulled his gun out. You gotta understand, most of these kids never have any type of training with guns. So he just pointed in a direction. And what happened? He shot the wrong guy. Ended up killing him. So now, I know who did it through, I guess, words on the street, but I can't take that to court. I have to have an eyewitness. Nobody's willing to talk. Nobody's willing to come forward. I get on the scene, My job is, the first thing I do is I notify my crime scene detective to come along with me. Those are the guys, I don't know if you guys ever watched this show called CSI. Okay, those guys work for me. Once they get on the scene, they start documenting the body. What I do is I take my tie, I stick the tie inside my shirt, so that way it's not hanging. Oh, that's another thing too. The way you see me dress, I have to dress like that at all times, based on the fact that we deal with cameras, we deal with judges, we deal with lawyers, so we have to be presentable at all times. So we can never dress down. Majority of the time you see a homicide detective on the scene, trust me, it's jacket somewhere in the car or in the trunk somewhere. But this, the tie, the shirt, the pants, he has to dress like that at all times. But anyway, by the time I get there, my crime scene detective tells me he's ready. First thing I have them do is take pictures of the whole surrounding area, including people that's standing around. Because majority of the time, sometimes people will do something wrong, they'll stick around and see what's going on if anybody gonna point them out. So we have the camera take picture of everybody else that's around the area, the environment and everything. Second thing that I do is I start undressing the body. I have to take all the clothes off. I have to look for any type of holes in the body. If it's bullet hole, I have to actually take my finger, stick it there, try to find where the bullet is, if the bullet's in there. If it's too deep, I leave it alone. If it's any cut, we have to measure how long the cut is and how deep it is, because all that's going to come in court. And that's where Miss Irma, who's going to try to defend the person, let's say I arrest a person, she's going to try to prove that, hey, you know what, he might not have done it. Did the detective that was on the scene, can he show us any picture that this person did it? How long was the cut? Or what type of bullet it was? I have to document all that. Once that's done, their body is sent to the medical examiner's office. Once it goes to the medical examiner's office, the following day, which is the next day, I have to be present while the doctor opened the body up completely. They have to tell me, like, I'm gonna give you an example. I've had a guy that got shot 23 times, but it only takes one bullet to kill you. For me to go to court, I have to say which bullet or the path that it traveled that killed them. The other 22 bullets, they just cosmetic, but it's just that one. Normally, once they cut into the body, they'll pull the lungs out, they pull the heart out, they'll pull the liver out, and it'll show the path. They have these sticks. It's like long, skinny stick, kind of look like the Chinese stick if you ever go eat Chinese food. That's what it's similar to, but it's a little bit longer, and we have them in different color. They put them inside the body at the angle that a bullet goes and see which one caused the most damage or which one caused the person to bleed internally. Once that's determined, I document all that. Now I go back to the scene and I start asking questions as far as who was around, try to find how many witnesses was around. I have to go on every door, knock on every door and talk to everybody. Did you see anything? Did you hear anything? And most importantly, I look for cameras, because a lot of buildings these days have cameras. Let me stop for a second. That's another thing about taking anything that doesn't belong to you, stealing. I'm talking to the young kids now. Trust me, wherever you go to take something, there's a camera somewhere. You guys just don't know it, but there are cameras everywhere. I can go on the scene right now, let's say a block away from here, incident happened. I can go like this area now is Miramar. I'll go to Miramar Police Department and I'll ask them for the camera that's located right on Miramar in University. You guys ever notice that when the cars go by, it flashes? Okay, it records everything. It records everything. I can go to them and say, an incident occurred not too far from there. I need to take a look at all the cameras. I sit there, I review all the cameras and see what happened. Another thing too, another camera that helped me solve a lot of cases. You guys ever see the MTA buses? That's the regular buses that drive by. All those cameras all those buses have cameras. Even I'm not sure, you guys don't have them for the school kids? But most of those buses, they have those cameras. They help me solve my cases. When I go in front of the judge, I present the judge with my witnesses, the person that said that they saw it or what happened, and most importantly, if I have any physical evidence. physical evidence is any guns that you use, every gun, period, when you fire that weapon, when it come out, it leaves a track that's on the bullet, and no two, it's just like a fingerprint. No two gun fires it the same way. Each one of them is totally different. Another thing is DNA. Believe it or not, your body is shedding off little cells that you can't see. Right now, if I ask everybody to get up and walk out, and I have my crime scene detective come in here, he'll have a swab, like, you know the Q-tip you use for your ear? He'll swab each seat, and then he'll be able to put it in a database, and he'll be able to tell me where each and every one was sitting at this moment right now. And what I would do is get a piece of paper and draw out the chairs, and he would put the name of everybody that was sitting and where they were sitting. And believe it or not, your DNA will sit and stay in an area for more than 72 hours. So we're talking about for at least 3 days. For at least 3 days, your DNA will sit there. And that is part of my evidence. That is a crucial part of my case. Now, as far as the kids is concerned, my biggest issue is the kids. We need to try to enforce in them that education is important, which we've heard that plenty of times. But what I would love to know is how many of you kids here really want to do something in life. Now, I came out the military and went straight into law enforcement. I got 26 and a half years as a law enforcement. I enjoy what I do, but you know what? At the end of the day, what makes me feel good is when I get on a scene, I can relate to my Haitian people, because they don't have nobody out there that's protecting and watching over them. Half of the time, the Black Americans, when they get on the scene, you know, in any job, anywhere you go, you're gonna have good and you're gonna have bad. Any organization. So I'm not gonna say all of them are bad, but majority of the ones that I've seen, they'll get on the scene, they'll get upset and get pissed off. Hey, sit down on the floor. You know, I'll come on the scene, especially if it's my people. No, you can still talk to them, but have them stand up. Because the thing is, right now, as a homicide detective, that's the highest rank you could reach as a police officer. And I would like to see most of the kids here knows that in life, you could be anything that you want to be. And most importantly, be something that is very powerful, be something that is very strong, and be something that is so helpful that will help your own people. Because that's what you got to look at. Because at the end of the day, if we don't look out for each other, we don't have anyone that's looking out for us. And that's one of the main reasons why I enjoy whenever I'm invited here by the pastor to come and talk to the kids. It makes me feel good. Because I'm hoping one day I can see one of them on the street. Because eventually in three and a half years, I'll have 30 years and I'll retire. But you know what? I would love to see my people in that position so they could help other people out, just like I'm doing now.
Amen, amen.
Okay?
Amen.